Ladies and gents, PepperBelly back again with some more squad, and in this video I want to talk about what makes a good squad leader. And this is something that's kind of important for a game like Squad, and not only that, it applies to real life as well, because leadership skills go beyond just the scope of a game or a job. And it all falls under the same rule set regardless of where your leadership skills are being utilized. So if it's a career or if it's a game, it all has the same overall structure on how it's applied. So if I were to ask you guys, what makes a good squad leader? What makes a good leader? Most of you would probably respond with saying, a wealth of knowledge and understanding on the subject. So in the case of Squad, those who have a better, more in-depth understanding of the game and its mechanics can utilize real-world strategies and tactics are probably going to be the better squad leaders because they'll be able to lead your team to victory. And I would respond with saying that yes, for the most part, you're right, but that's only a very small portion of what makes up a good squad leader, a good leader in general. Leadership skills go far beyond just the knowledge and understanding of whatever it is your task is. A huge portion of leadership has to do with motivating and inspiring the people you're leading. That's probably the most important aspect of being a leader. So how would you apply that to Squad? And it's quite simple. In fact, there was actually a topic, I remember there was a poll and a topic on the official forums, and it was asking what matters most in a game, and especially a game like Squad, where communication and team play is paramount for success or an enjoyable time. And the number one voted, and I voted for this as well, was enjoyment. Simple as that. Having fun regardless of winning or losing. So long as the overall experience was enjoyable to everybody involved from beginning to end, that is all that mattered. And I think that is more so for a game like Squad, because winning doesn't mean that much in a game like Squad. Everything that happens in between, the firefights, the communication with your teammates, everything that happens within the game is where you get fulfillment, is where the enjoyment lies, not the ending scoreboard, because that is so utterly insignificant to the grand scheme of everything that's happening in game that whether you win or you lose, nobody feels bad about it. All they think about at the end of the game is reminiscing over the awesome moments that they got to experience during the match. That's what matters. And as you probably have guessed, this correlates strongly with being a good squad leader. As a squad leader, it is imperative, it is your duty, not just to win the match, not just to bark orders, be a general prick trying to inspire or control your squad. Your primary duty as a squad leader is to make sure that everybody within your squad is having fun. It's literally that simple. Keeping your squad engaged in what's happening goes a long way. And obviously, you're going to be hearing me rinse and recycling motivate and inspire, because those are absolutely critical aspects of leadership, regardless of where it's being utilized. Because coming across as a person who's too controlling, too in charge, too big-headed, too bossy, that, regardless of where you're at, even in the real world, turns people off and makes them resent you and want to do the exact opposite of what you're asking them to do. It's a rebellious nature that people have. People don't like to work for people that treat them like shit. Everyone knows this, right? And this is coming from my actual military experience as well. You know, I've had many instructors, you know, many different types of leadership, and the ones I always respected the most were the ones who treated you like a human being, the ones that had the most humility. They didn't think they were better than anybody, they didn't think they were superior, they weren't looking down their nose at you, they didn't treat you like scum, they treated you like a human being and valued your opinions and the effort you put in. And they would utilize your efforts. And they would commend you for achieving something great. And this is the same way with everybody. Everyone who would have that type of leadership would always outperform everybody else. And in fact, the very last course I was on in the military, they had 2 platoons with 2 different styles of leadership to measure exactly how troops best perform under those circumstances. One platoon, which thankfully I wasn't a part of, were treated like shit regardless of how well they did. They were always disciplined. Think of Full Metal Jacket. They were always shit on all the time. Never rewarded for doing good. Always put down and yelled at. And it was pretty brutal. Every single time we'd see their platoon marching by, we saw how miserable they all looked. And in fact, my platoon actually was nicknamed by them Slushy Platoon, which is kind of funny. And the reason why that was is because one time we were rewarded by being able to go to this on-base military store called the Canics, and we all went there and literally got slush puppies and marched back. And I spilt it all in my fucking pocket, but that's an entirely other story that I will save for another day. But essentially, we were rewarded for doing good, and we weren't treated like shit on a daily basis. We did get disciplined harshly when we did things wrong, but in the end, we were rewarded and commended for our performance when it was admirable. And as a result, we outperformed every single other platoon on the base. We were like the alpha males, hard charging, doing every task handed to us with the utmost professionalism. And it stood out. It was noticed by every other leader for every other platoon. They caught wind of treating people like people, inspiring and motivating them to try harder, to push harder, makes a world of difference in their performance. So the thing to take away from that is pretty much what I've been saying throughout this entire video. Motivation and inspiration. Get your squad mates involved in what you're doing. Make it fun for them. Value their opinions and their input. Get your team, your squad, thinking critically together. Because you thinking in your own head what you want to do, and then just ordering your squad mates around, they may follow your instructions, but at the same time, they don't really know what's happening. They don't really feel involved in what's going on. They're merely just doing what you're telling them to do. It may be fun because shit may hit the fan and things get intense, and the game still can be fun, but to actually make it engaging for those involved, to enhance their experience further, it's imperative that you involve them in the process. If you're a squad leader and you know you have to accomplish a certain task, but you want to make it chaotic and fun for people, you know you're all going to die in the process, but you want to make it a really memorable experience. You know you're not really going to succeed in taking the objective, but you know for a fact it's going to be a fun effort. Do that instead. After all, we are playing a game. Lives aren't being lost for real. So if you need to do something, if you have a plan you could administer, that sounds good on paper, your squad mates are behind you, they're going to follow you through to the end, regardless of what happens, even if you all end up dead at the end of it, you're still going to remember that confrontation. You're still going to remember what you tried to set out to do. And that speaks volumes about player enjoyment. People like to reminisce about chaotic shit, right? Like, people like to reflect and talk about all the crazy things that happened in their life, right? We all know this. If you go to a party on a weekend and someone gets drunk and does something insane, everyone talks about it. You want to achieve the same level of enjoyment and storytelling in a game like Squad. So as I was saying many times throughout this video, as a squad leader, it's your duty to create those moments. Be the spearhead, the driving force that delivers that overall fun experience, and people will remember you for it. If they join a squad and they see your name and they see that you're a squad leader, they'll be like, holy shit, this guy, every time we played with him, it's always been a blast. That's what you want to set out to achieve. You don't want to have a guy join a squad and be like, oh fuck, not this asshole again. And then they leave your squad and go do something else. join another squad or start their own. You want to be that shining example of a fun individual who sets a fun environment for people to play a game in. And I can honestly say that if you have to throw out every other aspect of leadership except for creating an enjoyable environment, boosting morale, I would say do it. If you have to forget real-world tactics that you can utilize to win, which in the end requires a ton of coordination and precision and discipline to achieve, most people won't find that enjoyable. So in the end, what matters most is just creating an engaging and fun atmosphere. Inspire your squad mates to participate, make the environment fun for them. And in the end, everyone will come out on top having a blast. All that is the most important aspects of being a leader. Whether it applies to real life, at work, if you're in a leadership position at a real job, you want to motivate and inspire those that you're working with, right? You don't want them to stagnate. You don't want them to get lazy. You want to keep them constantly engaged, constantly participating, constantly motivated. You want them to aspire to be something greater. And that's how you bring people up. You don't want to keep people down. People that want to keep people down are literally the scum of the earth because they're so insecure about being who they are that they're afraid of people rising above them. And that's a bad trait to have. You should be trying to inspire people to better themselves regardless if it makes them superior to you, if you want to look at it on a financial spectrum or whatever. In a game, it applies as well. Help make the environment fun. And with that, I'm going to end this video. My name's been PepperBelly. Thank you guys for joining me today on this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.